Welcome to Weather and Climate Chat with Monsoon Mike and Dr. Michael Davis. Been a while since we conversated, Dr. Davis, because you and I both have had very busy semesters, but good to have you back here in the studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. And we've been dealing with a lot of conflict, so like one of us was open, the other one wasn't.
Exactly. And I think the last time you and I actually were in the studio here, we were talking about temperatures in the low 80s. And now we're talking about snow, or at least some sort of wintry precipitation.
Yeah, it looks like some wintry weather, potentially with this low pressure coming out of the southeastern United States for tomorrow. But it looks like it exits fairly quickly.
Okay.
Like by Friday or so, we should be starting to wind down.
Yeah, we should be careful with how we use the word tomorrow, because when people are listening to this, probably will be more, well, it depends when they're listening to it. We're recording this on Wednesday. I got to think for myself there for a second. Wednesday, the 14th of November. So by tomorrow, we mean Thursday, the 15th. So if you're listening to this on Thursday, then that's today. So just to break that down for you. So, okay. So as we're recording this on Wednesday, the 14th, it's a nice day outside. We're starting to get some high cirrus clouds moving in, which is probably the precursor of things to come. It's been, we're going to keep this particular podcast a little on the shorter side because we both have things to do at 12 o'clock. But just a quick recap, it's been rather chilly and a little on the below normal side temperature for the past couple of weeks, which is total opposite of this time about 40 days ago when we were well above normal. So it's like we didn't really have much of a fall.
Yeah, we've had a couple of particularly strong low pressure troughs swing through the eastern United States, which allowed some really cold air from Canada to come down and impact the eastern United States.
Yeah, this past Saturday, with the wind blowing 40 miles an hour, it felt like a good old-fashioned February day. So,
yes, I finally feel like winter time, I guess, around here, even though we kind of jumped autumn.
Right. And we're not even into meteorological winter yet, but we've already got our first, I guess you could say, winter storm of sorts. And you and I are both kind of a little skeptical about this being anything of major impact, but I would say a minor to moderate impact is likely for Thursday with this
the
storm.
heavier snow looks like it's going to be back towards central Pennsylvania, if anything.
Yeah.
And probably looking at 4 or 6 inches or so in central Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
By us, it's not going to be as much because we're going to get that maritime influence that's going to warm our surface boundary layer
And it still
temperatures.
is early. It's early in the year.
Yes,
still.
it's very early.
Yeah, so, I mean, there have been flukes in the past, like in 2011 when we had the Halloween snowstorm, but that's unusual. That's not the common thing. This time of year, you got to expect more in the way of some sort of mixture. So what do we have? We have a low pressure that's going to be coming up from, looks off the North Carolina coast, late morning, early afternoon on Thursday. Precipitation gets going. Looks like in the 10 a.m. to maybe noon range on Thursday. So getting to work and school should be fine on Thursday. When precipitation kicks off, Dr. Davis, later in the morning, are we expecting snow, sleet, freezing rain, some combination thereof? What would you think?
I think it's going to be more of a mix myself to start. The big questions I should say, is one, where exactly is this maritime air penetrating? Because the models that I was looking at seem to have a lot of warm air advection occurring at the surface. Yeah. Which is going to lead to a thicker warm layer at the surface, fostering sleet as opposed to freezing rain. Right. Because of the depth at which you're getting, because I was seeing something along the lines of a kilometer or so when I was looking at that. Yeah. That's much too thick to support any sort of freezing rain.
And that's good that you mentioned that, because there is a fairly large difference between sleet and freezing rain.
Yes,
freezing
very
rain
much
being,
so.
Freezing rain being much more dangerous.
Yeah, freezing rain's the more treacherous, I would say, to drive on, and sleet's not fun either, but given the choice between the two, you probably would want to choose sleet. Right. And secondly is where exactly this low is going. If the low's going to head out further to sea, I think we might stand a better chance at getting some snow. But if it stays closer to the coastline, then I think we're going to be looking at more of a rain solution.
The NAM model the North American model puts the low pressure system on early Friday morning in South Jersey. So that's more of a coastal solution for sure. Inland solution for sure. Inland solution. And the GFS kind of keeps it just off the coast. But the interesting thing about that is the GFS has more rain in our area, and the North American model has more in the way of frozen precipitation. So how do you explain that?
I think they might be handling the upper level dynamics a little bit differently about how much cold air is being wrapped in around this low. And I think it just also shows that they're having difficulty finding the maritime influence here with the coastal areas of, say, New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania.
One thing I have heard mentioned, Dr. Davis, is that sometimes it depends on the intensity of the precipitation. If the precipitation comes down heavy at any one time, that could cool the column of air and make frozen precipitation more likely. Is that a good explanation as what could happen?
It could, because evaporation is a cooling process, so it'll help cool the air. So if you do have a lot of precip coming down, you can potentially cool the atmospheric column. That's what typically shuts down, say, thunderstorm activity, because they move into areas that have been rain cooled and they don't have that strong convection or uplift generating those tall columns.
Okay, so from a practical perspective, the mix of some sort, snow, sleet, moves in 10 a.m. to noonish on Thursday. Looks like it continues into the afternoon. Some implications are that the precipitation might just even totally cut off for a while in the evening, the North American model being more descriptive with that cutoff than the GFS model.
Yeah, there's a thing called a dry slot, which typically happens in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, where you have a drier layer of air that comes in and kind of shuts off the actual precip. Meteorologists don't particularly like it because it can really cause you headaches when it comes to precip forecasts. We were looking at the NAM, and it looked like it was pretty well defined across our area.
Very well defined, but then the GFS, not so much. Same time.
Yeah, the GFS had it pretty much going offshore. That's what I was showing you right before we came on air.
Yeah, this is we're just looking at a computer here. Yeah, this is the NAM model, and this is the GFS for the same exact time tomorrow evening. So,
yeah, the NAM has
pretty major difference there.
Pretty substantial break in the precip across eastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
when the precip shield for the GFS is pretty well widespread.
Now, the GFS also has, it does continue the precipitation, but it also changes it to rain for most of the area. But it is going to be tricky because it changes it to rain from, say, Kutztown on south, but not far to the north of here, Interstate 78 corridor, some frozen precipitation could hang on.
Yes, I would probably say the greatest risk is up toward the Poconos area, further to our north. Also, with rainfall, you're going to be limiting your amount of snow accumulation, because rain will eat away at the actual snow accumulations, and we do have some residual ground heat built up from the past several weeks of being above freezing.
So what I always like to say, and I don't know if you've seen on my weather page, is I don't get too excited. I mean, some of these weather forecasters, they get crazy trying to beat the other guy with the better exact accumulation. It'll be exactly 2.5 inches or whatever. I don't get too worried about that. I just say prepare for poor driving Thursday afternoon. That's probably the most important thing we could say.
Yeah, one of my neighbors was showing me a weather forecast on Sunday saying about 8 inches of snow.
For this coming Sunday?
Yeah. No, for Thursday.
Oh, this past Thursday was...
This coming Thursday.
This past Thursday.
They showed it to me on Sunday.
I got you.
So like 4 days ahead, they said 8 inches, and I said, no, I don't see it.
Right. So, okay, so there you go. I mean, so again, from my practical perspective, and you tend to agree with me, just prepare for less than favorable driving Thursday afternoon into Thursday night and maybe into early Friday morning as well too. But for the folks out there that insist on some sort of accumulation just because people love numbers, what would you think? I'm thinking not a whole lot of snow with this. Maybe a coating to an inch or two, maybe 3 inches tops.
I'm personally thinking an inch if we're lucky.
I would agree with you. I would lend, and if you want more snow, definitely further north.
Yes.
Yeah.
But don't worry, winter isn't even here yet, so we're probably going to be dealing with more massive snowstorms later on in the year.
But the point of the matter is, again, the drive on Thursday, okay. The drive Thursday afternoon, not so okay. Not crippling, but enough to possibly cause some trouble.
Yes, the Weather Service that we saw was talking about issuing a winter weather advisory later today. And an advisory is simply to just be alert of not so ideal traveling conditions.
And that seems to be fair.
Advisories do not indicate heavy snows.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. So if you want an exact accumulation, which we don't like to do, but we would lean on the lower side of things, maybe an inch at most, inch 2 or so. ice, followed by some sleet, which is that those crusty little pellet things that are a pain, but not necessarily deadly like freezing rain can be. So this will be more of a sleet thing than freezing rain. So that's good news.
Sleet
too.
hurts if you get hit with it too, and it makes like the. I always like make this analogy in class, even though I think it kind of dates me somewhat.
Right.
Those days when you had the television set and you had all the white static that was going on. It pretty much makes that noise.
Yeah.
For the sleep. But
so we can handle that.
The days before digital TV, I think.
I agree, yeah. we can definitely handle this, but it is our first winter weather event of sorts for the year, or for this cold weather season, we'll say, so...
We're definitely going to be dealing with a mixed bag of precip.
Okay. Is this, and just for any folks asking, is this unusually early or about average or late or for to get this kind of nonsense this time of year?
I would probably say we're looking at these types of storms happening around this time.
Okay.
I don't think it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities, but each year is a little different than the other.
All right. Well, I'll let you go. I know you have at 12 o'clock. We'll go. We'll sign off for now. I'm sure we'll get together. We'll make room sometime between now and the end of the semester and during the winter break if you're around.
But when weather calls... Monsoon Mike and Dr. Davis are here.
When weather calls, we always make room somewhere.
Yes.
We try. Okay. Dr. Davis, thank you so much for joining us, and be safe out there on the roads, folks.
You too.